My mother, she went back to live with her parents, my grandparents, and my grandmother's sister, and our cousin Ralph from down south. And so I had like 5 people in the house all the time, and I was still bad. So like in 1960, when we got on the train at Penn Station, going down to Atlanta, because it was the Silver Meteor. That train still runs. It's an Amtrak train. The Silver Meteor. A lot of black people came up here on the Silver Meteor, but they made a mistake. When the conductor said, New York, they thought they were saying New York, and they jumped on it. It was not New York. Now that's a joke. But this part is not a joke. My aunt, my grandmother's sister, Joan, my mother's sister, Gladys, and myself, we got on the train in Newark, New Jersey, Penn Station. When we got to Washington, D.C., to what I believe would be Union Station, the conductor came to us and told us that we had to move to a different car in the rear of the train. Why was that? Because Washington, D.C. sat on the Mason-Dixon line. And when you went into Washington, not through Washington, into Washington, because Washington was a segregated city. Adam Clayton Powell talks about when he was first elected to Congress, he could not bring his own constituents into the lunchroom of Congress. The segregation was so deep. So when we got to the station, man, they talk about Monday Night Wrestling. My mother was very passive. She's a nice woman. She didn't curse, she didn't drink, she didn't smoke. Her sister, y'all know how brothers and sisters be like night and day, right? 2 sisters. Like Gladys, oh my God. I thought they was going to put us off the train and knew we was never going to make it to Atlanta. But fine, we didn't have enough money to get another ticket, so eventually we had to move. But when we got to Washington, that's when the segregated laws of interstate travel came into effect. And those laws were abolished by a case called Gale versus Broward. Now, most people know the story of the Montgomery bus boycott. But what most people don't know is what actually ended the segregated seating on the buses and trains. In Montgomery, they were only seeking the desegregation of that bus line because of what black people had to go through with these buses. Like, it wasn't just that Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white person. The law was from I think it was the 13th seat back. Black people had to sit in the back of the bus. But if the bus got crowded, then the black people in the back had to give their seats up to the white people. But that's not all. When the black people got on the bus and paid the fare, they had to get off the bus and go to the back door of the, can you believe this? How crazy this is? Had to go to the back door of the rear door of the bus and get on. And many times the buses would pull off before the people even got on. Sometimes they would pull off with people's hand caught in the door, or people's leg caught, or the bus would start moving before people even get up the stairs, and they fall off the bus. Most of us know that Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on December 1st, 1955. But Rosa Parks was not charged with violating the segregationist laws. Rosa Parks was charged with a misdemeanor because they didn't want to mess with Rosa Parks. Because Rosa Parks was the secretary of the Montgomery branch of the NAACP. Rosa Parks was a known activist. She had been working on the Scottsboro Boys case. She had been working on cases dealing with the rape of black women. She was even getting ready to gear up for a campaign around Emmett Till Because remember, Emmett Till had just been killed 3 months earlier. That's why the March on Washington was August 28th. Because Emmett Till was killed August 28th, 1955. August 28th, 1955. So Rosa Parks they didn't want to mess with Sister Parks. So they charged her with a misdemeanor. But there was some other sisters, including a 15-year-old named Claudette Colvin, who is still alive, who lives in the Bronx, New York. She was 15, and she had just had like a Negro history program at her school. Remember back then we was Negroes. Somebody said something about Negroes earlier. Then I remembered, right, when we were colored. When we were colored. So they had just had this program in school, and Claudette Colvin was on the bus, and the bus driver told Claudette Colvin to get up, give up her seat. You know what Claudette Colvin said? And she said, because we brought her to Newark to speak, she said, I couldn't get up. She said, I had Harriet Tubman on this shoulder and Sojourner Truth on this shoulder, and I couldn't give up. They arrested her. They arrested a 15-year-old high school sophomore and charged her as an adult and put her in the jail with the rest of the adults and charged her with breaking the segregationist laws. Sister Colvin has a book out that you should read called Twice Toward Justice. Twice, the Claudette Colvin story, Twice Toward Justice. Because she went twice. They went to federal district court. Fred Gray was their attorney for the district case. And Fred Gray took Claudette Colvin's case and combined it with 3 other women. One of them was named Aurelia Browder. And the case became, I guess because the names were in alphabetical order, became Browder versus Gale. Gale, G-A-Y-L-E, was the mayor of Montgomery. And Gale, Browder, the 4 women, was suing the city of Montgomery over these segregationist laws. And she won. She won her case at the federal district level. And then Gale charged again. Charged it all the way up to the Supreme Court. You know who argued the case? Supreme Court? Thurgood Marshall. Argued the case of Browder versus Gale before the Supreme Court and won. The decision in that case was hand-delivered to Martin Luther King, and that's when he called off the Montgomery bus boycott 382 days later. Because that decision said that segregated seating on buses and trains in the United States was unconstitutional. But see, this is what we had to go through. We had to go through slavery. We had to go through terror. People talk about terror. Let me tell you, terror was a part of black people's daily experience in the South. You know, and I hear a lot of brothers and sisters walk around here today, they be bad-mouthing the civil rights movement, they be bad-mouthing the NAACP, and talking about how black they are because they ain't down with no protest, they couldn't deal with no civil rights because I can't turn other people. Most of these people didn't do nothing. Most of them didn't do anything. This is just their personal preference they talk about. I don't do this and I don't do that. Most black people today that have college degrees had them because of protests in the civil rights movement. You got a degree that most of these colleges and universities didn't even accept black people. I know I graduated from Princeton University. They didn't accept no black, they didn't even accept women. White women. They didn't even accept white, and I'm not talking about the 1700s. I'm talking about up until 1966. Most people in this room, if you went to college, you were on financial aid. There was no financial aid before 1966.